there, it's Natasha and thank you so much for joining me today. We are going to create 3 big cards today using exactly the same sentiment stamp set. My first card is going to feature the kind of a rainbow selection of distressed oxide, so candied apple, spiced marmalade, mustard seed, mowed lawn and salty ocean are the 5 that I'm going to use. And I'm going to be doing it on some distress watercolor cardstock on the smooth side of that cardstock. And we're going to be using this stamp set from Alinacrafts today, saying, "Your smile fills my heart." This sentiment is a nice big bold stamp that's going to be the center of the attention for this card. And I'm going to start off by stamping it in VersaFine Onyx black ink. Now this is only kind of the beginning and it won't end up like this, so just wait, we are getting there. I have cut some strips of masking paper, which is just sticky paper, sort of a low-tech sticky paper. You could use any sort of paper that you could tack down here, or even post-it note, or even the one that you get from AliExpress, anything that works for you. This is just what I had on my desk, and I have strips of it that I use for a different project. So I have masked off just the S. Now all I want is the S because each letter is going to have a different color of the rainbow blended over top of them. I do want it to be quite a bright card, so I'm putting quite a lot on. And then I am going to gently remove the masking tape, and then I am going to heat set it slightly. Because this oxide ink does stay wet for slightly longer than maybe another dye ink, I'm just going to heat set it just to check. Then I'm going to use that same piece of masking paper to mask off the S, and you'll need to stick it down well because it doesn't love sticking to the oxide ink. And I have masked off on the other side just the M, so it doesn't really matter the size of the letter. I just go either side of it so I catch the whole letter. And then I'm just going to repeat the process over and over until I have each letter all nicely coloured. I'm going to use the same stamp set today just to show kind of the different ways that you can use one stamp set, that you don't need to buy lots of them. So this one just involves actually 3 different types of rainbow. They're all fairly different though, except for the sentiment, which basically stays exactly the same. I have tried to condense this video as much as I can because it's 3 cards. It is slightly longer than my normal videos, but I hope that that is okay with you guys and you stick with me. I am just finishing off here with this nice mowed lawn and then one more with the salty ocean. I am making the colors quite saturated. I want to do that because this is going to be a bright card. Now when you put oxides over top of your black VersaFine ink, you kind of do lose a bit of the brightness, but really I have just used that black ink for the background and to create a shadow. Now I have not moved my smile stamp. It's exactly the same where it was in the Misty, and you can see I've just moved my paper up and to the left a little bit, and this is what will create the shadow behind our next lot of stamping. I've added some powder from my anti-static powder tool, and now I am going to use my embossing ink and I am going to ink up the smile sentiment again. And I'm going to actually stamp it down twice just to make sure that I got everything absolutely perfectly, and you can see that it is stamping slightly offset from where that original black smile is. Then I'm going to add some Wow Ultra Fine embossing powder in white. Now the white will heat emboss over this perfectly. Now I know it's really hard to see, and I don't think I actually gave a proper close-up, but you can see that it just is like a black shadow. It's very subtle. It's not meant to be a huge big shadow, but you can kind of see it to the bottom left of each of the letters, and that just kind of helps the sentiment stand out a little bit. So when you melt the embossing powder over the black, it does go completely opaque, so you don't have to worry about that. And then again, I'm putting this back in my Misty. By now I have removed the smile stamp, and I'm going to add the last little bits of the sentiment, which is the other words from the stamp set saying "your," which will go up the top, and the "fills my heart," which is that little bit down the bottom. And again, I am just keeping this card super nice and simple and stamping it in the exact same black VersaFine Onyx ink. and stamp it a couple of times so that it's nice and dark, again, in particular when you're stamping over the oxides. And then that's kind of the stamping part all finished up for this card. I am going to trim a little bit off each side. Now I could have trimmed it off all four sides, but I'm just going to do it off the two long sides, and that way it will create kind of a white border, so to speak, when I put it onto my card front. But you could definitely do all four sides if that's what you wanted. I just thought that the nice little peak of white matched the white sentiment really nicely. So I have my double-sided tape, which is from AliExpress. This stamp set is also from AliExpress, which I'll link down below if you are interested in having a look. And then just to finish off this, I showed recently in a haul video all of these lovely colors of kind of flat back little raindrop gems. So I'm just using each color that I have, kind of the rainbow, to put a couple on and spread them around the card just to create a little bit of interest. And this is about now when I have my little helper who comes in and desperately wants to help. So I'm going to do my little gluing, and that way I can control how much glue and where she is putting them. And she's going to help me pop them on. And even though I have a teeny tiny crafting desk, my daughter is often out to the side of me copying probably what I'm doing with her own little projects. So she keeps me company often when I'm crafting. And she's giving you a big couple of thumbs up with her inky fingers. Next up, here's the next card. So I have the smile stamp in exactly the same position as it was last time. This time I'm going to be using some Hero Arts inks. So this, the red one is Pale Tomato, some Orange Soda, some Butter Bar for the yellow, then I'm going to move on to the Lime Green for the green, Cornflower for the blue, and then this one I think is a hybrid, but same thing from the same company. And this time, this is handy to have a stamping tool because I am going to stamp each of the letters this time in a different kind of part of the rainbow. I actually end up, because I wanted the purple so desperately in this card, I couldn't fit it in the last one. The M kind of has the orange and the yellow a little bit, but anyhow, it worked out okay. I'm not cleaning off my stamp in between the colours just because I find that it actually helps them blend a bit better. Sometimes if I get a little bit too much, I will wipe it off, but otherwise I just carry on. This card is super simple. And again, I'm using the exact same sentiment. The "Your" and "Fills My Heart" is going to go up above and down below, just using the same VersaFine Onyx Black ink. So again, we're using exactly the same sentiment as the first one. And I just need to remove my magnets because they were in the way a little bit. And then I am going to move on to the scary part. This time I'm going to use Distress Oxides just because I liked the colours. I'm using exactly the same colours that I used in the first card of this video. And I'm just going to put them down on a little non-stick mat here. And before I carry on, I've actually cut out, these are the matching shadow dies that go with the stamp set. These are also from Alina. And I have cut one out of masking paper. Because I've gone to the effort to make that smile sentiment look so beautiful, I am going to mask it up because I don't want anything to kind of ruin it at this point. It's really a focal point of the card and I want it to stay nice. So I'm just going to temporarily cover it up. Then I have these spray bottles, which are also from AliExpress, which are now my absolute favorite. They have a kind of a different squeezing mechanism, which I love. Then I am going to do some splatters. Now I've just got the three, the red, the orange, and the yellow for the minute, and I'm kind of doing it in a rainbow a little bit across my card as well. Now when I started this, I was like, wowee, hot mess, not going to plan, not good. But just hold on. And so now I have got the other three colors. I've got the purple, the blue, and the green, which I'm just finishing off. I don't necessarily think the rainbow splatters is that noticeable, but I know it, so that's okay. I'm going to pull off the masking tape quite soon. The whole card is still wet because I don't want anything soaking through. So this is this card kind of finished for now, and I will show you a picture at the end when it's all dried and it kind of looks a lot nicer. So moving on, I'm going to be using some Catherine Pooler inks. I've purposely used 3 different types of inks in this video because I'm showing that you can do it with lots of different inks, and I haven't pulled out my Catherine Pooler ones in a long time. No real reason in particular, I just am really happy using my oxides and things, and I have a very small selection of these Catherine Pooler ones. So I'm using up until the green, which is the Catherine Pooler, but I didn't have a blue or a purple, which was going to work for this card of hers. So I'm actually switching over to the oxides, and you almost can't even tell. This one is Salty Ocean, and Wilted Violet is the last one. They just fit right in. So all good. And again, I'm going to use the Your and then the Fills My Heart, which is exactly the same. I need to shift my magnets again. So exactly the same sentiment. Now I have a piece of 80-pound Nina Solar White. This is what I'm cutting into 1/4 inch strips. Now you could definitely do this technique using pre-colored cardstock. I just wanted the colors to exactly match what I had. So I'm going to color each individual one, and don't worry, from here I'm going to get much smarter and do 2 at a time because that would make sense. And I'm just using this kind of direct to paper technique, just smushing the ink on them. Honestly, they all dry looking beautiful, so don't worry if you've got 1 layer or 2 layers in some places or anything. I just went over them and they all dried nicely. So I'm doing 2 of each color because that's what I'm going to need. And as I said, using exactly the same colors as the stamp. So now I'm going to shift onto the oxides. And again, you can just do the same thing with the direct to paper. And this doesn't affect your ink pad at all. So finish up the last one in the Wilted Violet, the purple color. Again, this one was the oxide as well. And now for the slightly nerve-wracking part. I have just got a little bit of tape on my fingers because I think that ink might still be a little bit wet. And I'm going to slice off a corner off each corner, in fact, so 2 of them, just the opposite ones, sorry. And this is the bit of a nerve-wracking part because from here I'm like, this hopefully will work. But anyway, I'm going to attach this down to my card base, which is a 110-pound Nina Solar White, and I'm just putting it down nice and flat. The card front is made of 80-pound Nina Solar White. And then I'm just putting a really thin layer of glue on that corner, and this is where I am going to create the rainbow. So obviously it's super simple. You could use liquid glue, or you could use double-sided tape or anything like that to stick these down. And I'm just obviously going in rainbow order, and you can see that there's a teeny wee piece of white still left in the corner there, but I will fix that up later. And then I'm going to do exactly the same but in kind of reverse on this side. And then I'm just going to wait a little minute for the glue to dry because some of these strips don't have too much holding them on, but I will turn them over and cut off the excess that's hanging over the edge. And then we have finished the 3rd of our 3 cards using the same sentiment stamp set today. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed all 3 of these cards. I'm going to give you a look up of all 3 of them up close, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks. Bye.